Welcome. We're back with another video. We made a video a while back all about awnings, and it included suggestions on how to prepare for severe wind. If there's any threat of wind, you want to make sure that you have all of the poles set up. The next step is to put in guy lines, either one per pole or two per pole. It can get pretty awkward setting up the guy lines. They always reach out into camp, get in the way of chairs. Now, they're a trip hazard, especially at night. What I'd really like to do is do away with as many of these lines as possible. I've come up with a solution. I think you're really going to like it. It's a simple modification. We've added feet to the bottom of the pole. The foot can be pinned to the ground using the standard stakes that come with the awning. And on the top side, we've connected this to the cross arm. It still folds up and puts away just the way it used to, but everything is secure now. It won't come apart at the top and it won't lift up from the bottom. The auxiliary pole is the same thing. We've solved that with a little hook that goes into the cross arm, and it has the same adjustable foot that can be staked into the ground. They come in on a crisscross type of an angle, and that prevents the foot from lifting up, even though the stakes are not driven completely into the ground. This is really nice in a variety of ground conditions. Sometimes you're in hard ground and you may only get the stake in a few inches, and other times you're in soft ground and you can drive it in a bit deeper. But there is no reason to drive these stakes flush up against the foot. That will prevent any damage to the foot by just simply stopping before you collide. So what we have are all four poles with the custom feet. The primary poles have the original ball and socket joint, and the auxiliary poles have the bent hook. We need very few tools and materials for making this upgrade. One thing that I'm going to use is a pipe cutter, and there's a variety here, but the smallest one is plenty big enough for doing the job. And we're also going to use some gap filling super glue. After removing the pole from the awning, the first thing I want to do is separate the two halves. The inner half simply twists and slides out. I can remove the foot cap that is here, a little bit of sandpaper just to roughen up that surface inside of the tubing. Make sure that we get right down in there and do a decent job of cleaning that surface with some alcohol and that paper towel, because it's important that we get a nice bond with our super glue. Now we'll test this foot for fit. It fits in there perfectly. Here's a close-up of how the foot works. It folds up so that we can put the awning away. This can't lift up when these stakes are in, even though there's some stake up. There's no reason to drive these stakes completely in. In fact, we don't want to drive those all the way down and risk damaging our foot plate. Super glue all the way around. There we go. Insert it into the tubing with a little bit of a twist. Make sure it's completely seated and then hold it in place. It twists, and that loosens this cam that holds the pole from sliding in and out. I think this little compact tubing cutter is about $10. It works very well, and same with the deburring tool. They're not expensive, they're pretty handy, but you can accomplish the same task with a round file or sandpaper. This just speeds things up. I'll use a little bit of sandpaper just to make sure it's smooth inside and that the surface is roughed up. Clean that surface with some alcohol and a paper towel. Let it dry. So I'm doing all 4 of these poles. I suppose there would be a vast improvement even if there were just 2 that were locked in with the adjustable foot. So the auxiliary poles again have this pin to cut that off. These poles are plenty long enough to lose a few inches off of either end. I highly recommend using the tubing cutter, but this is a job that you could do with a hacksaw or a reciprocating saw, but this does a nice clean cut and nice and square. It's a good tool, easy tool to use. It doesn't take any skill. Cut off the ball joint on the other pole. I'll use the other type of tubing cutter so you can see how that works. It's essentially the same. Loosen it up, adjust it to where you want the wheel to cut the tubing, tighten it up just a little more than snug, and then rotate, and then tighten, rotate, give it about a half a twist, rotate, twist, rotate, twist, and that's it. This one actually has a built-in deburring tool here that goes into the tubing. It doesn't do quite as smooth of a job as an actual deburring tool. And again, a round file does a pretty good job of this task. You're just going to want to make sure that that burr is completely gone. And give the tube a little tap to make sure there's no metal filings that are going to be trapped inside. Roughed up, and again wipe it down with some alcohol. And when the paper towel comes out clean, we know that the surface is clean. We'll test the fit. Very good. This super glue was designed for gap filling. We want a nice snug fit, but it doesn't have to be tight. Give it a twist to make sure that the adhesive is distributed all the way around our joint, and then just hold it in place long enough for the glue to set. all the way around and insert it. A little bit of a twist and hold it, and that's it. So what we have are all 4 poles with the custom feet. The primary poles have the original ball and socket joint, and the auxiliary poles have the bent hook. The poles fit neatly back into the bag when the feet are matched back together. I'm using a 1/8 inch diameter drill bit. So we want it to be going through level and right through the middle. And we're using this number 6 stainless steel machine screw. It's 1 inch long. And once it's snug, it's not going to back out because the hole is drilled undersized, so the thread is locking into the nylon ball and the socket. This fastener is plenty strong enough to take on any kind of wind. It's not going to come apart. It's not going to come apart when we deploy, when we fold up. If you just let this thing swing freely, it will still rotate. It will move from right to left as far as we need it to. So all systems are go here. I don't know if your awning has developed this problem, but on the inside of this channel, there is a threaded rivet or insert, and we had that come loose a while back and pull out. So what I did was take the end cap off of the awning here, the support pole. It just is one screw that holds this in place from the top side. So this pulls out, it will expose that little threaded insert. You can take this off, remove the insert, and just replace it with a locking type nylon lock nut. As you can see, there's a bit of a wind picking up here. We've had some pretty severe wind on the Oregon coast the last few days. We're getting some rain today, and something else I've noticed is that with these adjustable poles being attached at the bottom and the top, they can be drawn downward, and that gives the awning a pitch so that the rain runs off. So although we're getting some pretty serious wind around here, our place is situated where we don't get that much on the ground. And then we do have the beam and our awning parked in a fairly sheltered area. So I've decided that it's time to step up the game.